The third prophecy of Fatima has been a source of speculation, fear, and fascination for over a century. Some consider it a mere historical footnote, while others believe it holds the key to understanding a devastating future event that has yet to unfold. But now, with the year 2024 fast approaching, many are asking, could this be the time when the prophecy finally comes to fruition? For decades, the details of this prophecy were locked away, shrouded in secrecy and hidden from the public eye, guarded by the highest echelons of the Catholic Church. Now, as the world faces unprecedented crises, natural disasters, political upheaval, and spiritual decline, the possibility that this prophecy might be coming true has never felt more real. What did the prophecy reveal, and why was it kept secret for so long? What could be so terrifying that even the Vatican hesitated to share it with the world? Prepare yourself, because we're about to delve into the chilling details of a vision that has left many fearing the worst. Imagine a time when the world was on the brink of collapse, when World War I had left entire nations in ruins, and the political landscape was rapidly changing. This was the setting of the Fatima apparitions, a series of events that would alter the course of religious history forever. It all began in a small, rural village in Portugal, known as Fatima. In the spring of 1917, 3 young shepherd children, Lucia Santos, and her cousins Jacinta and Francisco Marto, were tending their sheep when they witnessed something extraordinary. According to their accounts, the Virgin Mary appeared before them in a radiant, otherworldly light. The children, bewildered and terrified, could not fully comprehend what they were seeing. Over the course of several months, the apparitions continued, with the Virgin Mary delivering messages that would come to be known as the 3 secrets of Fatima. These 3 secrets contained a series of revelations, visions of hell, predictions of future wars, and a mysterious third prophecy that would remain hidden for decades. The children reported that the Virgin Mary had given them these messages as a warning to humanity. The first 2 secrets were shocking enough: visions of a fiery, terrifying hell, and predictions of a future conflict that would make the horrors of World War I pale in comparison. However, it was the third secret that caused the most fear and intrigue. Even the Church, which eventually acknowledged the children's visions, decided it was not ready to disclose the contents of the third secret immediately. Why would the Catholic Church, an institution known for its adherence to doctrine and tradition, choose to withhold this message? The secrecy surrounding the third secret only added to its mystique. For years, speculation ran wild. Some believed it foretold the end of the world. Others thought it contained a dire warning about the Church itself. Despite public pressure and numerous requests from the faithful, the Vatican maintained its silence. The fear was that the prophecy contained within this third message was so dire, so apocalyptic, that its release could cause panic, upheaval, or even a crisis of faith. It wasn't until decades later, long after the apparitions, that we would get a glimpse into what was hidden within this final secret. In 1943, Sister Lucia, the last surviving visionary, was urged by the Bishop of Laria to write down the third secret. At the time, she had been living a quiet, cloistered life as a nun, far removed from the events that had shaped her childhood. Initially, she refused. She claimed the vision was too frightening, too incomprehensible to be put into words. It wasn't until she fell seriously ill that she relented, believing that it was her duty to ensure the message would not be lost if she were to die. Lucia wrote the secret on a single sheet of paper, folded it, and sealed it in an envelope. She gave explicit instructions that the envelope was not to be opened until 1960, by which time she believed the world would be ready to understand its contents. But when 1960 came, the Church did not open the envelope. Instead, Pope John XXIII reportedly read the contents and chose to keep it under lock and key, citing the potential consequences of its release. This decision only fueled the rumors and theories surrounding the third secret. What could be so alarming that even the Pope, a man of deep faith and conviction, would decide to withhold it from the public? Some insiders claimed that the secret contained a vision of a great apostasy within the church, while others suggested it predicted a nuclear apocalypse. For years, the contents remained a closely guarded secret, passed down from pope to pope, until finally, in the year 2000, Pope John Paul II decided it was time for the world to know. When the Vatican publicly disclosed the third secret in 2000, many expected a revelation of earth-shattering significance. What they received was a cryptic vision described by Sister Lucia, a scene of an angel with a flaming sword, poised to strike the earth, held back by the rays of light from the Virgin Mary. It depicted a future where the Holy Father, along with bishops, priests, and laypeople, walked through a devastated city filled with corpses. At the top of a hill stood a large cross, where the Holy Father was struck down by soldiers, followed by the martyrdom of countless others. The symbolism was dark and foreboding, hinting at a period of great suffering and spiritual conflict. However, the release of this vision did not satisfy everyone. Many scholars, theologians, and even ordinary believers felt that something was missing. Was this truly the full content of the third secret, or was there an additional, undisclosed part? Skeptics pointed out inconsistencies and raised questions about why the Church had delayed its release for so long if this was all there was to it. Even Sister Lucia's description seemed to hint at deeper meanings, perhaps left unsaid. In the years following the disclosure, numerous conspiracy theories emerged, suggesting that the Vatican had only shared part of the vision and that the most damning details were still hidden away in its archives. Was the prophecy an allegory, or did it predict a literal cataclysm that we are yet to witness? The first two secrets were already well known by then: the vision of hell, a harrowing glimpse into the fate of the damned, and a warning about the rise of communism and the onset of a second, even more destructive global conflict. These were terrifying enough, but at least they were rooted in events that had already come to pass. The third secret, however, seemed to deal with a future that had yet to unfold, a vision of a world in turmoil, a church under attack, and a global catastrophe that could not be easily explained away. This was the context in which the third secret was finally unveiled. A post-Cold War world still grappling with the threat of nuclear annihilation, the rise of global terrorism, and increasing political instability. Pope John Paul II's interpretation of the vision suggested that it was a symbolic representation of the trials the Church had faced throughout the 20th century, including the attempted assassination on his own life in 1981, which he narrowly survived. He credited the Virgin Mary with saving him, believing it was a direct fulfillment of the prophecy. But despite his assurances, doubts lingered. Even now, as we approach 2024, many believe the true message of the third secret remains concealed. There are those who claim that the Vatican withheld the most troubling parts, fearing the chaos it might unleash. What if the third secret contains a warning not just for the Church, but for the entire world? A warning about events that are beginning to unfold in our time. Could it be that we are standing on the precipice of a prophetic revelation, one that has been foreshadowed for over a century? Only time will tell, but the signs are becoming harder to ignore. The meaning of the third secret has been the subject of intense debate and interpretation, especially after its public disclosure in 2000. Despite the release of the text, the cryptic nature of the vision and the vague descriptions provided by Sister Lucia left room for numerous interpretations, both symbolic and literal. The first two secrets were relatively straightforward in their prophetic content. The vision of hell was a warning about the fate of those who turn away from God, and the prophecy of World War II and the spread of communism were clear references to historical events that unfolded shortly after the apparitions. However, the third secret's vision was more abstract, filled with symbols and imagery that seemed open to various readings. One of the earliest and most significant interpretations came from Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who would later become Pope Benedict XVI. He played a key role in the decision to disclose the secret and provided a theological commentary on its contents. Ratzinger suggested that the vision should not be interpreted as a literal prediction of future events, but rather as a symbolic narrative representing the struggles and sufferings of the Church in the 20th century. According to him, the image of the angel with the flaming sword symbolized the looming threat of divine judgment, held back only by the intercession of the Virgin Mary. The scenes of death and martyrdom, he believed, were not specific future events, but rather a depiction of the ongoing spiritual conflict and persecution faced by Christians around the world. Ratzinger's interpretation emphasized the message of hope and mercy embedded in the vision. Despite the bleak imagery, the vision ends with the rays of light from the Virgin Mary's hands stopping the angel's sword. This, he argued, represented God's mercy, highlighting the importance of prayer, penance, and turning back to faith as a way to avert the prophesied calamities. He saw the vision as a call to repentance, urging the faithful to recognize the spiritual dangers of the modern age, such as secularism, materialism, and the loss of religious values. However, Sister Lucia herself provided her own insights, which were somewhat different from Ratzinger's. In her later writings and interviews, she hinted that the vision was not merely symbolic, but also tied to specific historical and political events. She believed that the spread of communism, as warned in the earlier secrets, was a major consequence of humanity's rejection of divine guidance. Lucia interpreted the suffering of the Holy Father and the clergy depicted in the vision as a direct consequence of this ideological spread, leading to persecution, loss of faith, and a crisis within the Church. Her perspective linked the vision more closely with real-world events, suggesting that the prophecy was both a warning of spiritual decay and a foretelling of tangible, catastrophic outcomes. The controversy surrounding the third secret has only grown since its disclosure, fueled by skepticism and speculation. From the moment the Vatican released the vision in 2000, there were immediate questions about its authenticity and completeness. Many theologians and Fatima experts pointed out inconsistencies between the text revealed and earlier statements made by church officials, including Sister Lucia herself. Before the secret was disclosed, it had been rumored that it contained a message so dire that several popes had wept upon reading it. It was also widely believed that the secret dealt explicitly with events related to the end times, or a great apostasy within the Church. The relatively tame symbolic vision released by the Vatican seemed to contradict these earlier accounts, leading many to suspect that the full content of the secret had not been shared. The most prominent conspiracy theory suggests that the Vatican deliberately withheld or altered parts of the third secret, possibly because it contained a warning about internal corruption or the downfall of the Church itself. This theory gained traction in the early 2000s when several high-ranking clergy, including Cardinal Mario Luigi Ciappi, reportedly stated that the third secret concerned a widespread loss of faith among the clergy and a great apostasy beginning at the highest levels of the Church. According to this view, the real message was too damaging to be revealed, as it could undermine the credibility of the Vatican and shake the faith of millions of believers. Despite denials from the Church, the speculation persisted, supported by the testimony of those who claimed to have seen a different, more explicit version of the prophecy. The Vatican, in response, made several attempts to address these doubts. In interviews and official statements, Church officials insisted that the full text of the secret had been disclosed and that there were no hidden parts left. They emphasized that the vision was a symbolic representation of the struggles the Church had faced, including the rise of atheistic communism, the persecution of Christians, and the suffering of the Holy Father. Sister Lucia herself, in a letter to the Vatican, affirmed that the entire contents of the secret had been made public and that no additional text existed. Nevertheless, the controversy has not died down, with many critics pointing to the inconsistencies in the narrative and the vague language used in the official explanation as evidence that something remains hidden. The potential consequences of the third prophecy have had a profound impact on both the Church and its followers. In the years following the apparitions, the Fatima message became a central part of the Church's teachings on the importance of prayer, penance, and conversion. The warning about the spread of communism and the call for the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary were seen as crucial steps in averting the dire events foretold by the prophecy. Popes throughout the 20th century, including Pius X, Paul VI, and John Paul II, took steps to fulfill this request, with John Paul II's 1984 consecration being considered the most significant. Many believe that this act played a role in the subsequent fall of the Soviet Union, a dramatic collapse that some view as a direct result of divine intervention. One of the most compelling connections to the third prophecy came in 1981, when Pope John Paul II survived an assassination attempt in St. Peter's Square. The Pope later stated that he believed the Virgin Mary had guided the bullet away from his vital organs, saving his life. He credited this miraculous survival to the intervention of Our Lady of Fatima and saw it as a fulfillment of the vision described in the third secret. In gratitude, he visited Fatima and placed the bullet from the assassination attempt in the crown of the statue of the Virgin Mary at the Fatima Shrine. This act, seen by many as a powerful symbol of faith, only deepened the connection between the prophecy and real-world events. The debate about the third secret continues to be relevant today, especially as we face increasing global challenges. Natural disasters, political conflicts, and social upheaval seem to align with the apocalyptic themes described in the vision. Whether one interprets the prophecy as a literal warning of future events or a symbolic call for spiritual renewal, its message remains a powerful reminder of the consequences of turning away from faith. For many believers, the Fatima prophecies are not just relics of a bygone era, but urgent messages for our time, warning of the need for prayer, repentance, and a return to spiritual values. As we conclude this exploration of the third prophecy, we are left with lingering questions and a sense of unease. Was the vision simply a symbolic representation of the past, or does it contain a warning for our future that is yet to fully unfold? If the true message of the third secret remains hidden, what could be so terrifying that even the Vatican would choose to keep it under wraps? The message of Fatima, with its calls for penance and its warnings of catastrophe, seems more relevant now than ever before. In a world filled with uncertainty and division, perhaps the time has come to revisit these prophecies and consider their implications for the present and the future. The Fatima prophecy challenges us to look inward, to reflect on the state of our own lives and the world around us. It serves as a reminder of the power of prayer, the importance of faith, and the need to turn away from the materialism and secularism that have come to dominate modern society. As we move forward into 2024 and beyond, the message of Fatima remains a beacon of hope and a stark warning. Whether we choose to heed that warning is a question only time will answer.